Welcome to the UWANTGAME podcast. I'm your host, Corey Brotherton. What is UWANTGAME, you might ask? UWANTGAME has helped many high school student athletes reach their potential in academics and athletics, as well as personal growth through life skills and career development. The program pairs student athletes with former college student athletes who have traveled the same path. In addition to that, there are speaker series and seminars where professionals from various backgrounds are brought in to speak to the student athletes and to give them a look at the game behind the game. The speaker series is designed to inspire high school students to develop into lifelong leaders. The UWANTGAME Scholarship Fund awards leadership scholarships to deserving high school students. Go to uwantgame.org for more information on the organization. Today on the UWANTGAME podcast, we have Shaina Zaidi. Shaina played basketball for 4 years at UCLA before playing overseas in Germany. She is the president and co-founder of TUME Water. Thank you, Shaina, for hopping on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Good to chat with you.
Yeah, how is everything going on with you? I know times are tough. You're in the pandemic right now, but how are you holding up?
I mean, I tell people everything is everything, right? Like it's what you make of it. We're definitely in a very challenging time, but it's a time for real growth, right? From the pandemic standpoint to like grow personally and to realize what's most important to us. And then with the greater social cause of Black Lives Matter and just kind of creating change and being able to put your voice behind something to really finally make a difference and make some change. So as difficult as it is, you know, people were saying like 2020 is going to be a movie and, you know, 2020 is clear vision. And at first everybody was kind of like pissed off at 2020 because it hasn't been what we wanted, but at the same time, it's revealed a lot to us. So
Absolutely.
Just been trying to push through it all.
Yeah, it's been really crazy, starting off with someone who was very dear to us, the passing of Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
You worked with him for several years, worked his camps and were involved in some other things with him. But just tell us about how that affected where you're at now, Los Angeles, how that was once you heard about the passing of Kobe.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, that started our year off, right? So losing such a great figure to LA, losing such a great person, and that's kind of how we met and how we know each other is from working with him even, and I started off at his first ever Kobe Bryant Basketball Academy. Before it was Mamba Sports Academy, before all the stuff that he's done with his daughter. He actually was even having a camp while he was playing, and was fortunate enough to be a part of that and work closely with him, you know, have some really great stories of being in the gym, just me, him, and a couple others, and rebounding, working out for him, seeing his work ethic, just hands-on, and what a great person he was, and such a great competitor. So yeah, so losing him was really hard. It was hard for LA. It was just, I think, hard for the basketball world and just everyone as far as like what he was doing for even the women's game. So that was tough. That's for sure. His loss is still, it still hurts us all. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely will be missed. Yeah. So thanks for talking about that. I know it's still difficult to bring up, but just tough. So thanks for jumping on the UWANTGAME podcast. You know, we like to bring in former college student athletes and kind of share their success stories, how they grew up playing the sport, mentors they may have had. And you have a very interesting story that we'd like to hear about. You're from Los Angeles, right?
Right.
And so tell us about that. What it was like growing up.
I'm not a transplant like most of them.
Yeah, there we go.
So from LA, so I'm actually born and raised in LA.
Okay, tell us about growing up there, how that was.
My mom is from LA originally. She actually grew up in Compton. So at a time when it was, it looked very different than it is even now. And she was one of the first minorities on her block. So definitely have an interesting upbringing from my family dynamic, as well as my own personal journey and story. But growing up in LA for me has been, it was great. You know, I was very fortunate to go to a very prestigious private school for high school. And it allowed, it really shaped who I am today. I really attribute having gone to Marlboro School as being like a big reason as I believe that I can do anything. And it's also a reason, you bring on mentorship on why I now have become a mentor to others, because of just my journey and what I've been able to experience having gone to Marlboro. And then because I loved my experience here in LA so much, UCLA was always my dream school. And so I wanted to stay local and was able to have the opportunity to, attend UCLA, attend my dream
Okay.
school, which a lot
So,
of people can't
so
say.
before we get into you
Yeah.
going to UCLA, how did you actually get into playing sports?
Yeah. Well, I originally, my first sport was tennis. I started playing tennis when I was really young, and it's an individual sport. So which was really great for me because I was able to, everything came down to me, right? You win, you lose. It's either your error or, you got beat, whatever, it's on you. So that really kind of, there was a part of it that kind of helped shape me as far as holding myself accountable for what I do and, how I play sports and how I live life. And then, but it did also, I missed that team dynamic. Like I missed having, being able to play with others. And so I was exposed to basketball. And I got really good at it really quickly and kind of was like, okay, I don't want to be alone on a court anymore. I enjoy this team atmosphere. I enjoy, keeping myself accountable, but at the same time being able to, pass the ball and, work as a group. And so basketball kind of took over, and it's, as you can see, even from my background, like, basketball is life pretty
There we
much.
go. Yep. So,
It's
so tennis was your first love.
yeah, it was. Yeah.
And
So
what age did you start playing tennis?
I started playing when I was like 4 years old.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so
Okay.
like it was a thing that my parents played recreationally with each other, and actually my mom was pregnant with me, and she was still playing tennis. So it kind of, the racket was in my hand as a chance for like hand-eye coordination, just being able to do something even at such a young age.
Right.
Most kids when they start playing basketball, even those that are playing on like the little Tykes hoops or whatever when they're 4, you don't really you can't play on the real main stage, right? You can't shoot it up to 10 feet, but in tennis you can play on a normal court, like just even at a really young age. So I think that was kind of the allure to it to get me started into it. But yeah, basketball definitely took over.
Took over. Okay. So tell us about high school. Did you play both sports in high school?
I did, and that's something that I constantly like encourage, young people now, and those that I even mentor, and just parents, anyone, is that the importance of having, a dual sport experience or a multi-sport experience, or just having some kind of crossover. I feel like the specialization in sports has become, the driving force for so many, and that's what leads to burnout, and that's why I have such a great experience, because yeah, I played tennis in the fall. I was still very competitive. I made it to like the finals of CIF, which is our playoff structure is for the state. And I hold some records at my school, but then, as soon as, I was still practicing on the weekends, it's still about what you do at home. It's not like I didn't pick up a ball, but I definitely did focus on tennis. And then, the rest of the year pretty much was all basketball, from high school season to club season. And then that was really the main focus.
So you talk about you attended the Marlboro School and you really enjoyed it there. What were your grades like?
My grades were, I was on honor roll, my grades were pretty good. Marlboro's a really, really difficult school. So I wasn't able to maintain a 4.0 there, but I had like 3.8, throughout my whole time. Definitely A's and B's in honor classes. Education was the number one thing. It was more important than practice than anything else. So.
And how difficult was that to balance everything? That's what you hear a lot from high school students. It's so hard. There's no time. But here you are playing tennis, you're playing basketball, and you're upholding, your standards in the classroom. How were you able to do all of that?
I mean, as with anything, it's like your focus, right? What you put the most focus on. So if I had to make sacrifices, like I wasn't going out to the movies every weekend, or I wasn't, going to any of the parties. I wasn't, I didn't not have a social life, but that wasn't the priority. That wasn't the focus. The focus was, okay, getting my homework done, studying. We have games that are really late, and then you're tired. So,
Right.
you don't have that same amount of time as if you didn't play a sport or didn't play 2 sports. So definitely the focus is what was key. And also, having goals. So like my goal was to play college basketball. So in order to do that, there were certain things that I had to compromise in high school in order to achieve that goal.
Sure.
And, in order to play college basketball, you got to have the grades, right? Now I think what the recent information is that people don't have to take the SAT, or they're not counting it as highly anymore. But for us, that was it. Like, you had to take the SAT, you had to take the ACT, you had to score really well. So if my goal was to play college, then all of these things were important, and I think people lose sight of that, especially if they're being recruited, which I was, or they think that, sports is everything, but it's not. You have to be that complete person and that complete package. And that's what I was focused on. So yeah, there's times when I did not want to do my homework. Of course, I didn't want to have to, come home from a game, study for the test the next day. But it was really staying focused on my goal in order to kind of push through.
Do you have any mentors that you may remember standing out to help keep you on track?
Yeah, I mean, definitely have had many mentors along the way, from being school administrators that were really pushing me and guiding me, because they knew that my focus was to not only play in college, but also go to a really good school as well. And so the education piece was really important to me. So just keeping me on track with that, and helping me to be able to balance. And even some that a couple of them, even to this day, are still my mentors, that they did that. They played a sport, they went on to their dream school, and now they're working in athletics or administration or business. So having them as someone to look up to, for sure, were mentors along the way. And then also just players that were ahead of me. So like the club team that I played for, Diana Taurasi was on the older team. And so it was like, she was someone that we all kind of, she would pay attention to the younger group, and she would kind of obviously be the example. So even though I don't have as personal of a relationship with her, she was always like that person that we were looking up to, and was a mentor in that sense. And then
Right.
Same thing carried over when I got to college, and some of the players that were ahead of me. So I feel like if you pay attention, there's mentors all around you, and if
Sure.
you lock into them and you really express interest or need help, then there's a lot of people that are willing to help. So
Absolutely. So let's talk about your recruiting. You play club ball. You also play tennis. Were you recruited in tennis?
no, I mean, I played on the junior circuit, which is basically the tournament circuit for
Okay.
juniors growing up, and I was ranked pretty high. But then you have to continue to play in tournaments in order to keep that ranking and keep that exposure. And I stopped doing that to focus on basketball in the club season. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah, you have to be. A lot of tennis players are homeschooled, even just because like the amount of time they have to put into
Right.
going and playing and touring. And if you're not doing that, no matter, I feel like even if you're really good, it's harder to get to
Sure.
that next level.
Okay. So what about basketball recruiting? I mean, we know where you chose and where you went and played, but
Yeah.
what was that process like, and what other schools came in to offer you?
Yeah, I mean, basketball recruiting, I mean, it's changed a lot now. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not really, I'm still in my prime, right? I'm not old, I would say, but definitely things have
But in the
changed a lot.
past 5 years or so, it has changed.
Yeah, a lot for sure. And like I said, I mentor some players now, and I'm still involved in coaching, so I can see the change. But for me, I mean, club was really important, but also your high school experience was really important. I feel like that's kind of shifted, how you contributed to your high school team, how far you made it in the playoffs, what you did for your school, that mattered a lot versus, how things are now per se, where it's really just about that club all-star experience. So both of those things that, going to different camps and just, doing well. Our team did really well. Those things contributed to it. But yeah, taking visits, like, talking to coaches, I feel like in all that, it's still the same. Harvard was, my choices came down to Harvard and UCLA. So
Wow.
I I really, again, valued education, and to have that opportunity from going from Marlboro to be able to possibly go to a school like Harvard was something that was, you know, I was blessed to have that opportunity. But ultimately, you know, UCLA had everything that I had always wanted. So, and as well as a great education. And so that was my ultimate choice.
So you're able to go to your dream school, UCLA, right in your backyard, pretty much. What was that first year like, hitting the practice and, you know, working in the classroom on your major or whatnot? Like, how did that work out for you? How difficult was that?
Yeah, that's where the real story is, right? Like that was actually the most difficult part, and the part that I'm trying to really help and advocate for kids even today, because a lot of times you'll choose your dream school or you'll choose the school, or kids are choosing the school that they want to go to because of where, just the team, the coach, the team, you know, the athletic experience, and they don't look at everything else. They don't look at the campus life. They don't look at, you know, the education. They don't look at the course load. And that's where you see a lot of transfers, right? So that's for me. I had to make sure that I went through that whole list. Like, do I like the campus? You know, the weather was a big thing for me, being close to home. What kind of majors do they have? If I weren't able to do one major, would I be happy with another? Because people don't realize that either. You could think, oh, I want to be, you know, go into business, and you go there and your practice is during the time when all the business classes are. Well, you're not going to be able to do that. That's a whole nother issue with, like, you know, athletics and NC2A and all of that. But I mean, you still have to protect yourself and your experience, and you have to think about all those things. You can't be sold on, or again, like back to it, just the coach, because then the coach leaves. Now you don't want to be unhappy. So I definitely kind of made sure I went through all of that checklist, and I was happy that I did that, because sure enough, I wanted to be originally like a film and TV major.
Okay.
I'm really into storytelling, and it was just really exciting to me. My dad's involved in the motion picture industry, so it's like something I want to do. And right away, day one, academic counselor was like, absolutely no way, because all of their classes are at 12 o'clock, at least for like freshman year undergrad. And my practice was 12 to 3. So that's a non-starter, right? There's no chance. I was like, there's not even one class I could take here or there. And there was none. So in order to get into that major, that wasn't going to work. So then I was like, okay, well, I eventually want to be involved in business in some capacity. At the time, I actually thought I wanted to be an entertainment lawyer, to be an agent and kind of represent my friends, was pretty much the reason behind it. So I was like, all right, business classes, let's go do business. And same thing. A lot of the classes were going to be conflicting, or I couldn't miss them because of games. You know, we miss class when we go on the road. So it was going to be really challenging to do that. And, you know, as a freshman, sophomore, I wasn't really ready to kind of jump into that type of challenge, because I had some challenges on the court playing behind a couple All-Americans. So it was like, okay, if I want to really focus so I can contribute to the team and get playing time, you know, I was torn. So I it's not that I settled. Like, I ended up doing political science as my major, which, you know, essentially was on a pre-law track as well. So I was able to find something, and that was, again, because I did that checklist. So it's like, okay, if A doesn't work, then B would work, you know, that you would still be able to enrich with your experience. But
yeah, you had a backup plan then for that.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, those are things people don't think about when they're going to a school. You know, you know, in that way, you know, being an athlete is very much a job, and that's, I think, a bigger conversation that's being had right now, because of just how much sacrifice there is in being a college athlete, that people don't even consider, because it's put under the bucket of, oh, you're getting a free scholarship. But okay, well, if I didn't play a sport, and let's say I really wanted to be a film and TV major, then I wasn't even able to do that, you know, because of my sport. So there's a lot of sacrifice that goes on, and I think players that are understanding of that have a better opportunity and have a better chance, even while they're at their school, to really succeed. And prepare for life after sport as well. So
now you talked about your academic side. What about the athletic side? How difficult was that your first year? Do you think you were ready stepping onto the campus to play at that high level?
I mean, if you ask me then, I would say yes. But if you ask me now, then it's like, no. I mean, there was a lot that I still need to learn. There was a lot I needed to experience just from like a conditioning level. You know, I was in pretty good shape, and I worked really hard the summer before my freshman year to kind of meet all the requirements as far as being ready for the conditioning tests and just to adjust my body, you know, into being you're 18 years old playing now with 23-year-olds, 22-year-olds. It's the same adjustment as like a freshman in high school playing with seniors, you know, so being prepared for that. I was pretty small, actually, you know. It's funny now, again, looking at women's basketball players and players, because I'm 5'7", 5'8", and I was the smallest on my team, you know, shortest, smallest, everything. So it's like how to, you know, they wanted me to put on a little, even me, like a female, like put on a little more muscle and just kind of be able to play at that faster speed, play at that strong, you know, have more strength. So yeah, that was all an adjustment for sure. And again, like I said, one of my best friends, and even I would consider her a mentor when I was at UCLA and when we were playing together, is Nikki Blue, and she's one of the best point guards that came out of UCLA, and arguably in the Pac-10 at the time as well. And she was the point guard playing she's 1 year older than me, playing ahead of me. So it was like that was a challenge in itself, because I couldn't expect to take playing time from her. You know, it's like we need her on the court, but at the same time, I had to really learn where can I contribute to the team and be accepting of the fact that it may take a year or take 2 years. I might not be in there playing 40 minutes like how I used to run my team and be, you know, the center of attention in high school. So that was all adjustment. And that's something that I encourage, again, back to it of like mentoring kids now today. It's like, don't be distraught if you're not playing your freshman year. And I think it even goes for high profile male players as well. Like even on the guys' side, like, you know, I get people that are on their pro track, but for the majority of people, like, don't be so, you know, so stuck on that. You use it as an opportunity to learn, to grow. And that's what I did. I was like, I worked harder. I studied the game more. I was in there watching film. I was trying to work out with those players that were getting, you know, were in the starting positions, like to work harder against them in the off season. So take it as a challenge that pushes you to go harder. And that's what I did. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's great that you talked about some of your teammates being your mentors as well. Very good. So after your 4 years at UCLA, you graduate, political science major. You wind up playing professionally. Tell us about that track and how you wind up getting to go overseas.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the original plan, I would say. Like, again, you know, education was first. I told you my whole journey about like what major I wanted to do. You know, I was very focused on life after sport being after those 4 years, you know. And then, but again, the drive of playing behind such amazing players and playing with such amazing players, it pushed me to be even better than what I probably would have realized myself to be, you know. And because of those 2 years, means the first 2 years on the court being more of like a growth phase and an adjustment and learning, I still had so much untapped potential after I was, you know, going into my senior season. And so then because of that, I felt like, you know, there might be a real chance that I should go and try and continue this and play professionally and have the opportunity to potentially go overseas and also be able to travel and explore, you know, different parts of the world as at the same time as doing what I love. So my senior year is when it started to realize is it being a possibility. And I'm thankful to have, you know, my parents are also my mentors, and they're also ones that continuously support me. And they're the ones that actually were encouraging me to go and explore it, like whether it be from the originally like trying to find an agent to then ultimately going overseas for a pro exposure camp and being seen by different agents, scouts, coaches that were from different countries, right? So it's like they represent different countries at these camps. So there's people from coaches from England, from Spain, from Germany, from France, all watching us play at this exposure camp. So having, again, coming back to like my senior year, still having the drive to want to play more, and then having the support from my parents to go ahead and try it, and to have that opportunity to explore overseas, and then really just booking a ticket and going overseas to this exposure camp and just going for it. And then I ended up getting MVP at that pro exposure camp, and ultimately got my contract to play in Germany from being seen there. So.
Now, your game, I've seen you play, and you're a baller, most definitely. You're a shooter. How would you describe your game? I mean, I consider you as a savvy point guard who can shoot the ball, but
Right.
what do you think you were known for?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a shooter now, and that's all I want to do now, actually.
Yeah.
But you know, the journey kind of allowed me to adapt and get and have my game evolve into what really was ultimately my strength, which was shooting. Again, you know, being a point guard, all through high school, that was my main responsibility. And then going to UCLA, as I mentioned, playing behind, first and foremost, playing behind Nikki Blue, I didn't want to just settle with those minutes that were left over, you know? Right. So it was like, okay, I started to show myself in my ability to shoot, to where the assistant coaches recognize that, hey, I don't know if she's just a true point guard. Like, she's pretty much should be on the wing. Like, she's a two guard that can shoot the ball. So then just really started to hone in on that and just really focus on that. And, you know, even though, you know, people think that shooters are just shooters and like they're born that way. And I do feel like there is a little bit of that, because it's just like, you know, the flow, the feel, the way you lock.
Right. You got to work at it too, though.
Exactly. You have to work on it. You have to work on it. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, now that's what I did. And then ultimately that's what.
So how often would you work on your shooting for those that, you know, just want to shoot? Like, how often would you work?
Every single day, and Absolutely. Multiple times a day. So like, I remember even in actually going back to just middle school and high school, even before I like started to own being a shooter, like right. Even just the build up before then, I would go to a park, because you couldn't always find a gym. I would go to a park and do some like touch shooting, do some warm up shooting before a day of a tournament, before a game day, before tournaments. You know, right. A lot of kids will just roll out to the tournament, roll out to the game, do their layup lines, and like they feel like they're ready to go. You know, I would warm up before, and then like, let's say I missed like free throws, or I missed during the game, or I didn't shoot as well, then I would shoot after the tournament too. So that was even in middle school and high, and then in high school, I would go in early to school and use the shooting machine. I was lucky to have access to a shooting machine, so I'd go in there, shoot 200 shots in a half hour in the morning, in addition to obviously my regular practice. And then anytime I could, you know, we had a hoop. I was lucky that we had a hoop outside, you know, in the house, like at my parents' house. So would just make sure that I'm shooting, you know, just all the time. And then in college, it was more, you know, specific as far as what working on. So trying to make my shot faster. So setting it up in that way, or doing things off the dribble. You know, you get more specialized then into what you actually hone in on. But right. the time, I mean, hopefully I kind of expressed that in how much that I did it. It's constant, you know, it's constant work. So.
Now you played at a high level in college. I mean, you reached the pinnacle of becoming a professional basketball player and playing overseas. But, you know, like we always say as athletes, the ball eventually stops bouncing, right? So right. What happens next for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's been an interesting road thus far, you know, but the main thing that's stayed the same is just honing in on like my passions, my desires, growing in what I'm actually good at. And those things then help you find a way, just like from tennis to then basketball to then, you know, my college pro experience. And then that how even segued into what I'm doing now, you know, starting a beverage company that's aimed to be a healthier sports drink. So, and it incorporates an ingredient, turmeric, which has anti-inflammatory properties, antioxidants, and is, you know, gives functional benefits to what we started off targeting, athletes. You know, and that part of that experience and the birth of that idea came from playing overseas, where they didn't have Gatorade and Powerade and other sports drinks at every grocery store. They didn't have it on the sidelines at the games. Matter of fact, the first few games that when I was playing, I didn't see those jugs come out, they didn't have the stuff on the sidelines. And I'm like, and I didn't play for like a rinky dink team. I played for a pretty strong organization that had everything intact. They had, really good fan base, sponsors, everything. And I was like, so where are the drinks at?
Right.
Like, and then they're like, we don't have those, we don't really drink those. And kind of opened up my eyes, because before that I would guzzle all those drinks. More than I drank water. And so it just kind of opened up my eyes as that there was healthier options that should be available, because there's a lot of sugar and there's a lot of artificial ingredients in some of those typical sports drinks that we just go to by default, but they're not really good for us. And so that idea started to brew while I was even playing overseas. And then coming back, still having that in my mind of wanting to have this healthier alternative and wanting to do more for an athlete, right? Athletes deserve the best, but yet we're not always given the best. And that to me was unsettling. We need to be able to protect ourselves and be doing good for our own bodies in order to achieve high performance, live a longer life, whatever you may call it. So that was a driving force in just trying to create something better for athletes, and why we started TUME, and then just how it became on my entrepreneur journey is that I just always wanted to be in business. Again, coming back to my story, okay, whether it was storytelling and making a movie, or whether it was being an agent for my teammates, like there was always this wanting to start something on my own and wanting to do something. And really the driving force, the why, is to make things better for others, so how to make things better and how to support athletes. And I feel like I've been able to kind of marry the two in an untraditional way by creating a healthier sports drink for athletes, in a way to kind of empower others to kind of see the benefits of that.
Now you came up with the idea in Germany when you were playing,
Yeah.
but how did you come up with the name? I know it's turmeric, but tell us about that. And you started the company with your dad, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, exactly. So turmeric's been in my family tree. My dad's actually originally from Pakistan, so we grew up, having it in curry dishes. Grew up having it as my grandmother actually used to make like a paste when we sprained our ankle or we got hurt or we were sick, and she made some kind of.
So you've been familiar with this for years, your whole life. Okay.
Exactly. So it was like, okay, even for me though, but I didn't know, I didn't really know that much about it. It was just like the go-to solution. And so then when it was time for me to take care of myself, when I didn't have grandma rubbing this on my ankle, and when I wasn't living with my parents any longer, it's like, okay, well, how do I get that in my diet? How do I have that? And so those are the conversations I was having with my dad. Like, I'm not going to eat chicken curry every day. I'm not going to make this paste. How do I get this ingredient in my life and in my daily routine? And so that's kind of when we started to think of the idea of making it into a beverage. And then it just, because of the anti-inflammatory properties, which help with soreness, and also the cognitive effects of it. So it helps keep your brain sharp. It's a reason why those that have a lot of turmeric in their diet are lower cases of Alzheimer's and dementia. And it's because of the cognitive properties. So all these things, I'm like, this is a perfect thing that I wish I had while I was playing, keep you sharp, keep you from not being as sore. And so we just kind of, the rest is kind of history, because we partnered with a food scientist to kind of develop the formulation, work with some beverage developers. We pretty much just said, let's go for it, and we pushed go. And first people I got it to were friends of mine that happened to be professional athletes, and wanted them to try it, let me know how it stacks up taste wise against other sports drinks, as well as let them know about the benefits. And because of that, they actually wanted to be involved. A couple of them wanted to be involved on the business side. And so it was something that it's definitely through and through, it's by athletes for athletes, from creating a business opportunity and being able to invest and be a part of something that could be really big, to as well as reaping the benefits of having a product that actually does something good for them. So I take great pride in that. And then kind of recently was exploring it even deeper, and fundamentally just like who we bring on board, and like, again, that team building. So back to that team mentality of like being an athlete, that also played a part in building what we are today, and having 99% minority owned business led by a female, and 25% female owned, I think about 27% Black owned. Like, I take great pride in that. That's like the ethos and the culture that we've been building
Right.
to be even more than what just TUME the product is. And TUME the name, back to it, pretty much is just short for turmeric. You know, if you remove the R, it's TURERMERIC. So if you remove the R, it's just TUME. So
It's great. So tell us where we can get TUME water and the flavors that you guys have. I've checked out the site. I love the site. You've got UCLA on there. I think you were at an event, what looks like Venice Beach. You were doing something there. So tell us about that and some of the things TUME has been doing in the community.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a big thing for us, is giving back to the community and community of sports, community of LA, being young athletes. And so everything we've done, it's kind of a trying time right now for us in that way, because a lot of it has to do with activations and events and giving back by putting them on, as well as being the hydration sponsor for ones that were already going to be planned. So not being able to do that has been difficult, but where we started off was for professional teams. You know, that's the first the first people that saw and were able to experience and drink TUME were professional athletes in the NBA, NFL, MLB, and MLS. They all are, there's a lot of teams that are customers of ours. So that's where we started, and then realized, okay, now we need to get it to everybody and make sure that everybody can also have the access to this beverage. So that's where we started drinktume.com. And so we could offer direct to anybody in the country, you know, without limitations of what store do people shop at and where do they go, or, you know, what region or what area. So we offer it nationwide on drinktume.com. So anybody that's listening from no matter where they are, they can definitely just go onto the site and order TUME directly, ship direct to the door, which is convenient now too, because people are not, you know, going into grocery stores even is a little bit challenging. So it's been really good to offer it in that way. And then locally in the community, you know, we're in stores. We started with Whole Foods in California.
Nice.
So we're in stores here in California where people can get in and find it, and just trying to do more with different teams, different schools, giving back by, we do a lot of sponsorship where we'll donate product. We do a lot of, you know, kind of lessons on inflammation and just teaching about overall education on having an anti-inflammatory diet and just what that looks like for performance. And a lot of that can be found via our Instagram. So we put a bunch of things on Instagram. So it's TUME Water on Instagram. So it can be found there. But,
okay. Tell us about your flavors. What flavors do we have?
Right now we offer mango. We have two.
Nice. I think I had the mango one. I think.
Okay. Yeah. We have mango's the top flavor. We have mango, we have berries, and we have pomegranate. So
nice. Are there any other products in the works that you're thinking about down the line, or?
Yeah, I mean, we do have some products in the works. We have a pretty robust product pipeline that we want to introduce, including turmeric shots.
Okay.
So we're working on different versions of that. But right now the focus is on making sure we have that all-day hydration with the benefits of turmeric that people can get. So.
Very good. What are some last things, I mean, that you'd like to share with current student athletes? What a journey that you've had from, you know, humble beginnings to becoming the Division I basketball player overseas, business owner, successful business owner. What's one last thing that you'd like to share with student athletes?
Yeah, I mean, to always believe in yourself. Like, you know, that's the biggest thing. A lot of times the weight of the world and other people's opinions can sometimes cloud you into thinking that you can or can't be something, and to always make sure that you believe in yourself, because that's where it starts. If you believe in yourself and you put in the work, you really can, the sky's the limit. You really can achieve and all your wildest dreams, and to know that it may not happen overnight. You know, you may have a lot of obstacles in the way that challenge you into thinking that you won't be able to achieve your goals or your dreams, but just to take those as lessons and enjoy the journey, and just know that you're always a work in progress. So
It's awesome. Thank you so much for jumping on the podcast. You've been great. That's our time today. We'd like to thank Shaina for jumping on. Shaina, before we go, just one more time, give us the social media, the website where we can find TUME Water. Go ahead.
Yeah, go to drinktome.com. We have a bunch of promo giveaways. Maybe we can tag one in the show notes or something so we can give this audience a special coupon or something. But drinktome.com is where you can find it. Also, TUME Water on Instagram. And since this is for student athletes, I'm an available resource if you ever want to chat or need some help. And you can find me on Instagram as well, Shaina Shaina. So yeah, stay connected. That's the biggest thing.
All right. Thank you so much. We'd love to hear from you. Please visit UWANTGAME.org and let us know how we can also help you. You can follow our movement and join the conversation at UWANTGAME. That's on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thanks once again to Shaina Zaidi from TUME Water for jumping on. Until next time, I'm your host, Corey Brotherton.
Thanks, Corey.
All right. Thank you.